Knies survives a big scare in practice today. Samsonov was recalled from the Marlies, and the Leafs have a new boss. What does it all mean, Dave? Well, we'll discuss it all and more on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com and use the code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com. What's going on, Dave? Big newsy 24 hours for the Maple Leafs, isn't it?
Well, it was a fun day for me because
I saw that. So explain to everybody what happened to you today.
This might have been the biggest luck of the draw in my life because I was
well, hopefully not. Hopefully you win the lottery someday.
Well, in a way it was. I was hanging around at Sherway because that's big mall in my area. I was looking. I didn't get a chance to check out some stuff after Christmas time because I went on my vacation not too long after. So a couple things I was looking to get. I saw literally because I get Leafs notifications on my phone, like you and I usually do. Most people do. And literally saw a post saying, anybody looking to score some free tickets, come to the Sport Check at Sherway Gardens, which is where I happened to be. I could not have been. It could not have worked out more. I was only in the Raptor section of Sport Check, looking at some Scotty Barnes stuff. Saw the tweet. I'm like, all right, book it. And then I got to the entrance. There were the people there handing out tickets. I won myself a pair of Leaf tickets.
Yeah, you did. Got yourself a pair of Leaf tickets. They tweeted out your beautiful mug and everything. You and a couple others ended up getting it. What's the game? What game did you get tickets to?
No idea. They said they're going to let me know.
They're just going to, all right. So you just basically, we'll be in contact. Our people will call your people. And eventually you'll get tickets to a game. Right on, man. Congrats. It's pretty sweet. You always end up coming up with tickets guaranteed, by the way, for that game. You got to let everybody know you're going because everyone then has to bet that game is going to go to overtime, right? That's just what happens when Dave goes to a hockey game. The games go to overtime every single outing. He's there. It's like clockwork. So on top of that great news in Dave's life, there was lots of news from a Maple Leafs perspective today. We'll kind of go through all of it because there's a lot. There's a Matthew Knies scare, major scare in practice today. Ilya Samsonov got recalled by the Toronto Maple Leafs. He'll be back with the Marlies. We'll tell you exactly what that means. And MLSE, out of nowhere, it seems, naming a new CEO, new president. Keith Pelley is now the head of MLSE. So we'll see, chat about if that means anything for the Maple Leafs. And then obviously we got a game tonight with the Leafs heading to Long Island for a date with the New York Islanders. So we'll tee up that game as well. But let's start with what happened earlier today, this morning. Quite the scare. Like you said, we get notifications when things happen with the Maple Leafs, when certain reporters are reporting stuff. And Matthew Knies leaving practice, needing help off the ice off of a non-contact injury was definitely something that was worrisome. So for those who aren't aware of what we're talking about, do you have the tweet or the video that we could pull up here? because I think it would just be good for the people who are watching on YouTube to kind of see exactly what happened. But, Matthew Knies just in practice was doing a drill, just kind of a board battle kind of thing. And he twisted one way and then tried to pivot to go the other. And when he went to go and pivot, he kind of collapsed and was hanging on to, I don't know if it was his knee, his ankle, something, and needed help off the ice and help down the tunnel. And he obviously did not return to practice. And whenever that happens, that's never a good thing. People are usually pretty worried about this. I mean, we're watching it here on YouTube right now, just him lying on the ground. But the video itself,
it looked horrible. Like literally, this happened not too long after I won the tickets. I was so happy I got the tickets, and I go on Twitter.
Look at this. It to me, it's like, oh my God, do we have an ACL situation? Like ACL, MCL, like that's what I'm thinking here. He needs help off. Is there the video, the actual event though? Like where
No.
I know that exists. That's out there. I don't know if it's, here, but I know that it is. I think it was posted on Twitter by somebody, whether it was Masters or Alter or someone, but regardless, that didn't look good. However, it appears that it looked a lot worse than it turned out to be. According to Sheldon Keefe, he hasn't been ruled out for tomorrow or for today against the Islanders, so that's a good thing. And then also Austin Matthews said, he went right to the back after practice to go and see and check up on him, and he said it looked like he was actually going to be okay. So crisis averted, because if that's a torn ACL for Matthew Knies, that's probably season over for him, and that would have been a massive loss for this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it would have been, because it's not just obviously you're losing a top rookie, but it's what he brings to the ice, right? That physical presence, the forechecking. He's just been an all-around solid player for this team, right? You want him in the lineup, and you don't have a Matthew Knies a replacement for him. Like, you don't have someone you can say, all right, let's put this guy up in his spot and you'll be able to kind of replace what he does. You really don't have that.
No. So, whether or not he plays against the Islanders, I don't know. They're going to give him the night to see how he feels. And I'm sure he'll kind of, they'll know more by morning skate. And, whether or not he's declared a game time decision or he's declared out in the morning, that is an update that we'll definitely be keeping an eye on. But I guess, cross your fingers that, nothing happens overnight. There's no late inflammation there, and he wakes up and he's okay, and he'll be able to keep it going, keep it moving. Someone who will be in the lineup tomorrow, will not be starting, however, is Ilya Samsonov. He has been recalled by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dennis Hildeby assigned to the Toronto Marlies. Now, he will come back and be the backup for Martin Jones. He will start tomorrow against the New York Islanders. But I did not expect for Samsonov to be recalled so soon here, Dave. Like, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I was surprised, right? Because we were told the Leafs had a plan for Samsonov. He's just going to be away. He's going to practice, kind of be away from the spotlight, because they're literally trying to keep him away from anything that, potentially will give him some issues, right? Like in terms of like the media and things like that. They want to keep him away from those things. And yeah, all of a sudden now he was back, and I was thinking to myself, okay, there wasn't any issues with Martin Jones, right? That was like my first thing. I was like, oh, is there something going on here with Martin Jones? But then it was Dennis Hildeby being sent down. I was like, okay, this more likely leans towards what they want to do with Dennis Hildeby more than what they want to do with Samsonov. But yeah, it's still surprising just because we were told that there was this whole plan to keep him away from things, and now he's like right back. Like, he is one Martin Jones injury away from being put into a game.
Well, that's it. And like, what if Jones gets lit up like a Christmas tree in New York? Like, if it's 5 Cobb after one, you're gonna trot Jones back out there, or you're gonna have to put Ilya Samsonov in net. Like, it is a weird situation. I mean, it's not protecting him by bringing him up. It really is not. Like, if you really wanted to get Hill to be a game, why didn't you play him last night against San Jose? Played him in that Tuesday game coming back. He hasn't played in a little bit. Jones just played you 4 straight games. Give him the night off against what we obviously now know is basically an American League squad anyways. And Hildeby was just named an American League All-Star. Heck, he probably would do well against the San Jose Sharks team. So if you wanted to get him a game, and that's what the Leafs were worried about, which is the reasoning for why they decided to make this move. Like Sheldon Keefe at their practice said, this is more about Hill to be getting some work in. He's going down to the Marlies. He's going to get a full practice with them on Thursday, and then they've got a game Friday, which he's going to play in. So, Keefe said it's more about that, getting him and helping with his development, getting him back into game action, than it is about, Samsonov proving he's ready to get back into the lineup and into the minutia of things of being back with the Leafs as a full-time NHLer. There's a legitimate scenario here where Samsonov, like, this is almost a paper-like move where the second Hildeby finishes that game on Friday, he gets called back up to be a backup for Martin Jones on Saturday and maybe even plays the game on Sunday, and Samsonov either sticks around as a third or he gets sent back down again. Like, the guy hasn't played, and I'm not exactly sure if he's been able to fix what the problem was within 8 days. It's just a really peculiar situation.
Yeah, it is. And I just hope that whatever plan they do have for Samsonov, like, it is being followed and they're not changing things like left and right and center. Like, I hope that they're kind of keeping things in tight, because, like, look, again, we just mentioned it. Like, Sheldon Keefe is not interested in putting Dennis Hildeby into an NHL game, which means
not interested in putting Samsonov in an NHL game either.
And that too, right? Like, you talked about, Keefe pretty much, also said, like, this is no chance where he is going to put Samsonov in the game either. So it's like, this is such a tough situation because, again, we know how easily things can change in a second with these sort of situations. And so it can make you feel a little uneasy knowing that now Samsonov is back up and where this kind of puts the whole goaltending situation.
Yeah. Samsonov was not made available to the media on Wednesday. It was a team decision. They felt that it wouldn't be conducive to the ultimate goal of getting his mindset back to where it needs to be so he can be part of this team and help them win games moving forward. He'll be reassessed after Friday and whether or not he sticks with the team over the weekend and kind of what happens there. But we'll see what happens, what this Samsonov recall means. I don't think we're going to see him in the net anytime soon, though, Dave. I that's my projection. This is almost a paper move, man. Almost treating him as one of those like college kids emergency backups that ends up having to play backup, where it's like, yeah, you're going to sit on the bench and wear a ball cap, but there's not a strong likelihood you actually end up playing a game here anytime soon. That's where I think we're at right now with Samsonov. But getting him reacclimated with the guys, maybe that puts him in high spirits and gets his confidence back. It does give him a chance to work with Curtis Sanford, their goaltending coach, which is obviously a big thing, I would think. But yeah, we'll see what it means going forward. Also, big news of the day in Toronto, not just with the Maple Leafs, but all of Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. They've got themselves a new boss up at the top of the food chain. We'll tell you who that is on the other side, and also what it could possibly mean for the Maple Leafs, for management, for Brendan Shanahan. Will there be any differences of how things operate going forward? We'll discuss that all next and preview tonight's game between the Leafs and Islanders. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Jase Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. maybe you plan on traveling somewhere to celebrate with family now in the new year, or you want to go on a trip. So the last thing you want to be is unprepared to take care of yourself or loved one if you fall ill. Jase Medical can give you peace of mind before you ever hop on a flight. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order at jasemedical.com.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are hosts here at Locked On Leafs, a daily Maple Leaf centric podcast. We got new episodes coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. If you're new, please, we ask, if you enjoy what you've heard so far, consider subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcast from. Audio-wise, you can find us also on YouTube as well. Just search up Locked On Leafs, hit subscribe, hit the little notification bell as well, and you'll be notified as soon as we put new content up each and every day. We'll get to tonight's game. The Leafs heading out to Long Island for the first time since Tavares hit 1,000 in that building. They ultimately lost that game in overtime, but it was still a pretty big milestone and a fun night for Tavares and the Maple Leafs. So we'll preview that game in just a moment. But before we get into it, some news came out earlier in the day on Wednesday. This was TSN's investigative reporter Rick Westhead reporting that MLSE is set to name Keith Pelley the new president and CEO of the company. I didn't know this was, I knew that the position had been vacated. I guess I wasn't aware that they were so close to naming someone or what the deal was. But this was news that I wasn't really expecting, I guess is the way to put it. It's a position that had been vacated since February of 2022. Michael Frisdahl was the previous president of the organization. He left, and someone has been filling in the interim. A little about Keith Pelley. Previously worked as the president of Rogers. He was the president actually when they bought the NHL rights, that big 12-year deal that they made. So he, has very close ties, obviously, with the sporting world. He's a president of TSN. Once upon a time, he worked with the Toronto Argos in a management role as well, front office role, and also worked with the PGA. So he's got a lot of fingerprints around the sporting world and in Toronto in particular. So I think that, this is a pretty good hire, I guess you could say. And I think that he's going to do, a good job, I suppose, based on the resume that he's had, not only, in sports, but in the Toronto area as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's someone that has obviously deep connection to the Toronto sports landscape. And yeah, I was surprised too. Like you almost forget that MLSE didn't have a confirmed president since the last pretty much last year, a full calendar year.
2 years, February 2022, 2 years.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Now someone has been here in the interim role, but I also, the MLSE teams haven't exactly had a lot of success the last few years. And that's why I think the timing of this comes at a very interesting time. Like Toronto FC, for those who don't know the Toronto sports landscape, Toronto FC has been one of the bigger disasters after being one of the a heralded club when they won an MLS Cup, been to 3 finals in a good span of time. The Leaf situation, everyone's very well of it. The Raptors, since winning a title, haven't really come close to being of that level since. This I wonder if MLSE is wondering, do we need to figure out a way to shake things up a little bit here?
There was a terrific article that was written by Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star last year And it was after the Maple Leafs got eliminated from the playoffs, and he essentially put it out there and said there is a lack of pressure from ownership on this team to really do anything because they decided to run it back. Shanahan, all the players, eventually, obviously, Dubas decided to move on, but like there was a lack of accountability from the guys in prominent roles in these organizations. I'm talking about the president, Brendan Shanahan. I'm talking about Masai Ujiri. And then, obviously we saw the situation that had occurred with TFC, where this season was just an absolute abomination. Good year, I guess, for the Argos, one of the lone bright spots for MLSE over the last couple of seasons since Michael Frisdell stepped down. But if you look at it, like he had the job from 2015 to 2022, and he didn't necessarily have he didn't have his hands on a lot. Like he wasn't as hands-on as Tim Leiweke was prior to him.
Yeah.
And Tim Leiweke is the one who put Brendan Shanahan in place, put Masai Ujiri in place. Like he's the one who really put those two, and got the Shannon plan rolling and got Masai Ujiri in place. And obviously he brought a championship to this city. So over the last couple of years, though, there hasn't been a lot of success. And I wonder if it's because, again, they're not really answering to anybody right now. They're answering to a board, and that's always far more difficult than answering to one person. So I do wonder, and to be fair to Frisdall, that they were answering to a board during his tenure as well. It hasn't been since Leiweke, I believe, where someone's kind of had that overarching role with who someone has to answer to from a team perspective. So I am curious if that is going to change. If now Shanahan and Masai Ujiri, the president of the Raptors, are going to have to now get more input from Keith Pelley as opposed to trying to go to the three-headed monster of the board. Now it's kind of one guy, and it can be more streamlined that way.
Yeah, I mean, and look, we remember when Kyle Dubas spoke about streamlining things in terms of how he there were reports that Kyle Dubas wanted to streamline things a bit more with how decisions were made within the Leafs organization, right? Like if you feel like, things aren't being run as efficient enough, you gotta figure out why that is, right? And we know that things in MLSE have kind of, there's as we mentioned, things have not been running smoothly. Yes, the Leafs and Raptors and all that, those organizations are seeing their valuations go up. That's great. But sports, while is also a business, it also requires that you see results at the end of the day. And that's the big thing as well.
And I think that's where, like, you look at Leiweke and what he wanted to see results, where, again, this is complete speculation. I don't actually know the answer to this, but like the board, like they're kind of more of, we got to try and make as much money as possible. Like we got to sell tickets, sell jerseys. Yeah. That's what the core four does, right? Where you look at maybe now going forward, it's like, okay, you can sell tickets and jerseys, but why don't we get a banner? Why don't we get a Stanley Cup? What other things can we try and do? Because guess what also sells? Stanley Cup merch and apparel as well, right? Regardless who's on your team. So, with one guy there and someone who's a Toronto guy, right? Like he's a Toronto dude, Keith Pelley is, and he's been in this sports scene for a long time. I wonder if he'll have more, not that he obviously is not going to care about making money. It's MLSE. They're always going to make money, but maybe now it's like, we need to figure out how we can win. Right. It's not just going to be about just the money. It's also going to be about how can we win as well. So we'll see what happens. If this does make a change, maybe it doesn't. And it's nothing that we'll see on a day-to-day or surface level. It really will not be. So will we ever mention Keith Pelley's name on this podcast again? Probably not. Honestly, maybe once or twice if they win a championship and he comes out and speaks, perhaps, but not too often is he going to get brought up again. But
I wouldn't be so sure about that, because I did hear some people say that unlike Fisdale, Pelley will be more front facing in a lot of ways, especially in the media. So
yeah,
I we're not going to be talking about this guy every week
That's what
on
I
the
mean.
show. Yeah,
I think like he won't be a day-to-day story, but
Yeah.
like when bigger overarching things happen, he'll come out and speak. Like think Tim Lywicki. Like Cathal Kelly wrote a piece in the paper he writes for the Globe and Mail, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's literally titled like Keith Pelley will be Tim Lywicki 2.0. Lywicki was a great president CEO for MLSE. Did a lot of good things and started, really started things on the up and up for a lot of these teams. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Obviously, it's a new era in MLSE. We'll see if that results in some championships here for some of the teams in this city. Just you brought up evaluation, by the way. Leafs. The Raptors are valued at $4.1 billion, which almost doubles the Leafs, which I was flabbergasted to see. The Leafs
not at
still
all.
worth a lot of money, $2.65 billion, still a lot of money. But the fact that like the Raptors are considered a small market basketball club and it's still worth $4.1 billion is just goes to show how far behind the NHL actually is when it comes to the Leafs are the number one hockey market in the world, and it's nearly half of what the Raptors are worth, and that's like a mid-tier basketball market. I get it's a Canadian-wide market, it's a national market, but like when you compare it to other teams, it's pretty mid, right? Like it's no Lakers, it's no Clippers, it's no Philly, it's a no Knicks, it's a mid-tier organization. Yet still worth a heck of a lot of money. And I think there's still like in the next couple of years, I think there's a new NBA TV contract that's gonna burst those numbers up even more, buddy. So I'm sure Keith Pelley probably might have something to say about those contracts as well. All right, we'll take one more quick break, Dave. Let's come back. Let's tee up tonight's game, Leafs and Islanders out on the island. So we'll do that in just a moment. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Sleeper. It's almost the halfway point in the season, Leaf fans, and regardless where we are in the current standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contest. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, William Nylander will score more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. This is Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. Toronto back in action tonight. The Leafs head out to New York. They're taking on the Island. They'll be looking for a 5th straight win tonight. The Islanders, though, they're in a little bit of a funk. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. They've given up 5 goals in 3 of their last 4. Now, they've played some good teams: Colorado, Vegas, Vancouver. The 3 teams that put 5 past them. But, hey, Toronto's a good team, too. You think they can have some similar success tonight against the Islanders?
I mean, if the Leafs play like they've been playing the last week, they should, right? Because the Leafs have been playing like with a lot of pace, very cohesive unit. And, like, I watched that game between the Islanders and the Canucks, and, like, the Canucks had their way with the Islanders. Like, they were all over New York, especially, power play and things like that. There were just a lot of things that Vancouver did well and kind of exposed the Islanders in a lot of ways.
Lots of quick transition and rush goals, I felt it looked
Yeah.
like. And if you haven't seen that Elias Pettersson goal and the Niels Höglander goal, there were a couple in that game. Whew! Beautiful, beautiful plays. But yeah, you're right, man. Like the Leafs can continue to play the way that they have, and this is the real test, right? Like, sure, they're playing the Sharks back to back. They played the Anaheim Ducks. They're not very good teams. Now they got a much better squad, a team that is currently in a playoff position, like the New York Islanders. What can they do against them? Can they continue to play that way? Can they continue to have attention to detail on both sides of the ice? Defensively, can they protect the puck? Can they continue to break the puck out efficiently like they have been, leading to some rush chances? That's what's going to really be, I think a key for tonight. You look at who's going to be in goal. Martin Jones once again. So Martin Jones, can he continue this amazing play that he's had of late, where he's allowed just 5 goals his last 5 games? And I was unaware of this stat, Dave, but do you know which goaltender leads the National Hockey League in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes of play?
Goals saved above expected per 60 minutes?
Yeah.
Is it Martin Jones?
It is Martin Jones. I mean, the way that I kind of led you into it, I suppose,
I was like,
gives it away.
Is he giving me the fastball down the middle, or is this a knuckleball that's going to curve at the last second for me?
Yeah, no, I gave you the easy one. Yeah, you look at Martin Jones. So this is with a minimum of 10 games played in the NHL. Martin Jones is number 1 with 1.045 goals saved above expected per 60. And this is all situations, not just that 5-on-5. We're talking all situations here. And that's ahead by quite a bit. Like Aiden Hill is next up at 0.899, Charlie Lindgren at 871. So like the fourth goalie is in the 6s. Like there's only 3 goalies that are above 8, and this guy is the only one who has more than 1 goal saved per game, basically. So Martin Jones has been fantastic, honestly. So you got to take, give a little tip of the cap. At some point, though, he's got to get a rest. It's not going to be tonight, obviously, because Samsonov is going to dress as the backup, and he's not going to be starting. So it's going to be Marty Jones. But at some point, going to have to give him a little bit of a rest. I will say, though, like there was a time where Martin Jones was starting like 60 games a season for the San Jose Sharks. So it's not like a big bulk starting load is like completely foreign to him. It's been a few years since that's been the case. So maybe ease him into this, but he'll get the start tonight. As for the lineup, unless Matthew Knies is unable to go, I don't think we'll see much of a difference. Nick Robertson was skating up on the top line in place of Knies when he went down in practice today, because I believe Noah Gregor will be good to go, and he was sick on Tuesday. If he's good to play, do you think he ends up getting back into the lineup, or do you think Nick Robertson scoring a goal deserves to get another go here?
I mean, it doesn't seem like scoring is going to be enough for Nick Robertson to stick in the lineup. Sheldon Keefe pretty much talked about everything he liked from Pontus Holmberg, the fact that he could play in multiple positions.
Well, I think we're talking Gregor at this point. Nick Robertson.
Yeah, but Gregor, the thing is, Gregor is coming back in no matter what. I think the real decision is between Robertson and Pontus Holmberg, because Holmberg is taking Robertson's spot.
Yeah, and Holmberg had a way nicer goal than Robertson the other night. So
yeah,
for going by goals, Holmberg gets the edge there, and he gets the edge defensively as well. So
exactly,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like I think Noah Gregor, no one literally how many players bring what Noah Gregor brings in the bottom 6? No one has the speed of a Noah Gregor. He's got the offense. I think he's
a penalty killer.
Yeah, exactly. Penalty killer. Like Robertson is produced. Like I'm not saying he hasn't produced. He's produced more than Noah Gregor, although albeit with more offensively gifted players than what Noah
Yeah.
Gregor's playing with. But you just mentioned it. Noah Gregor plays the penalty kill. Nick Robertson does not. And that's where everyone's had the issues with Nick Robertson as a bottom six player. As a bottom six player, you're asked to do those other things other than being the offensive guy. Really, if you're going to play Nick Robertson against the Islanders, it's because Matthew Knies can't go, and you're moving someone up, and Nick Robertson's taking either Nick Robertson's moving up higher in the lineup, or he's taking someone else's place lower in the lineup.
Really quickly, because I asked you this question yesterday if you thought, Martin Jones or Joseph Wall was going to be the starter come game one of the playoffs. Is Nick Robertson going to be in the lineup game one of the playoffs?
No. I'm also the belief that he might not even be on this team come the playoffs.
Very possible. I'm curious
right?
how much. I don't know how much of how much value he really has around the league, and especially after a couple healthy scratches, he might not hold a whole lot of value at this point. So that'll be.
It's been terrible asset management by the Leafs. Like, if you're not playing the guy, have him with the Marlies. At least then a team's like, you know what? If we give this guy a legitimate shot in the NHL, he might be able to do something for us. But now that he's in the NHL, not really playing in the role that I think is suited for him, like I think Kipper.
I don't know if it is suited for him. Like I really think this guy to produce has to be in like a top six role.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
there. What I mean. Like, he's not in the right role. He has to be in the top six.
Okay, I misheard you. Yeah. I misheard you.
He needs to be in the top six, and that's been my gripe. You see, the offensive instincts are there. The problem is,
but he's been
taking out.
He's been given opportunities in the top six and hasn't run away with them either. So that's
that's true.
There's an onus on the player to take it and run with it when given those chances, and he's yet to do it. This year he's actually been healthy, so that's a good thing. And I think he'd say that he's happy with the season so far, despite the healthy scratches. Just at least he's a healthy scratch and not an injury scratch, right? Fair. So, but I don't know. Hopefully, either they can get a little bit more out of him, or he does maybe get dangled as some sort of trade bait. But again, I wouldn't hold my breath on value when it comes to Nick Robertson. To be completely honest with you, it's definitely decreased in the last couple of years here. Lastly, Giordano was not at practice today. It was a maintenance day, Keith said, and he will play against the Islanders. All right, really quickly, let's get to the 3 keys to victory for the Maple Leafs taking on the New York Islanders. Let's bring up our brand new keys to the game graphic, Dave. Look at this. Yeah. We've got a keys to the game graphic. If you're watching on YouTube, you're looking at it. If you're not watching, we'll probably post it on our social feed. So go make sure that you are following at Locked On Leafs on X, and we'll probably post this there as well, so you can take a peek at the beautiful craftsmanship that we're working with here. Now it's 2024, Dave. We're moving and shaking. We're doing things here on the podcast. Why don't you start things off with our first key there?
Yeah, you gotta get traffic to the net. We saw it against the Islanders the last time. Like, how did Tavares score? Right.
It's our first time we're using the graphic, and we done goofed up.
Did I get the wrong? I got the wrong graphic in there. Hold on. I made the change too.
I know you did, because we looked at it before. There we go. There we go. All right.
Thank you, Mike. So yeah, not traffic to the net. Get traffic to the net. Yes. You saw the goal John Tavares scored to tie the game. Craziness in front of the net. Get traffic. Make Ilya, if Ilya Sorokin is the one playing in this game, make him uncomfortable. Right? You got to get into those dirty areas, and you also just got to make it hard for him to see the puck.
Yeah,
he can't stop what he can't see.
That's right. And then also, when you're getting traffic to the net, you're in front of the goalie. So, if you're creating rebounds also, that allows you to be right there for the rebound. and get a point, obviously, and get it in the back of the net off those rebounds. So I agree. Getting traffic to the net is going to be key against good goaltenders like the New York Islanders. Number two, limit turnovers, and in particularly in your own zone. I think that's, if you go and you take a look at what's been the big difference here over the course of the last couple of weeks for the Maple Leafs. They've been playing a lot better hockey since the turn of the calendar here. They were excellent in this California road trip, and a big difference between that and previous is they're not giving the puck up a whole lot, and especially in their own zone. How often, like a month ago, were we coming on this podcast and talking about how TJ Brody just coughed the puck up? They failed to clear it, and the puck ends up on the back into the back of the net 5 seconds later. Every single podcast, it felt like we were talking about that happening. Not as much, because I think they're being pretty efficient. They're limiting the turnovers, and they're actually, executing their breakouts pretty well. From defense to offense, and it's resulting in some sustained ozone pressure because of that. So I think that Toronto's done a good job of this lately, and it's been a key to their success. I think it'll be another key again tonight.
Yeah, I just think don't be careless. They've been guilty of being very careless. And that game against the Islanders was kind of infuriating because they were beating themselves in a lot of ways.
Yep, that's typically, if you look at a lot of the losses the Maple Leafs have this year, you go back, you look at a lot of the goals in those games, most of them came off turnovers. And you're right, they just, shooting themselves in the foot is a hobby and a pastime of the Maple Leafs. But that's the 2023 Leafs. This is the 2024 Leafs. They've been a lot better. We'll see if they can continue it again tonight. The third key, Dave, take it away.
Yeah, you got to keep your feet moving, right? Force the Islanders not only to defend, which means, don't be stagnant, don't be stationary in your own zone, but also put yourself in a position where they're going to be careless with their defending and take penalties, holding penalties, tripping penalties. Get yourself some power play opportunities.
Yes. 100%. Like, you look at this penalty kill for the New York Islanders, it's 29th in the league, ranked at 72%. So Toronto, coming off a night where they were 3 for 3, they tried out a new kind of setup with Willie up top and Mitch Marner in the bumper role. I liked it. I thought it looked pretty good. They obviously found some success with it, so if they can, like you said, get the feet moving, have some quick transitions, force them to defend, force them to take some stick penalties, and you end up on the power play a few times tonight. Got to make sure that you strike, because this team has given up power play goals. They've given up 5 over the last 5 games. So Toronto should be able to get one tonight and hopefully win that special teams battle, which usually goes a long way when you try and factor that into what the final score is going to be at the end of the night. So those are the 3 keys. Boom. Got a nice new graphic. We're up on the production level here.
We do have a few more graphics we can try out. We're going to work on them. It takes a little time. As you can see, it takes time for us to get things done smoothly with these graphics. Yeah. We're going to try to do them a little more, just for a little more visual appeal during the podcast, especially considering this is a video element.
Yes. Well. 100%. Then we can also easily tweet them out on social media, and people can respond on social, on X, and let us know what they think is going to be a key to victory. You can let us know down in the comment section as well. But we'll wrap things up today for the show. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms to receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Go ahead, leave a like and a comment down below. And if you're listening on iTunes, we'd love a nice little review as well, and a 5-star would be preferred as well. Thank you so much. That would be greatly appreciated. Any interaction helps the algorithm and helps the show grow. So that would be great. Thank you very much in advance. But we'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. We'll recap the game against the Islanders. But until then, go Leafs go, and keep it locked right here on the Locked On Leafs podcast.